All right, let's dive into one of the most important libraries in web development today, Auth.js. Now, you might know it by its old name, Next.js, but trust me, its evolution is about so much more than just a rebrand. We're going to find out why.
So, you're spinning up a new project, right? One of the very first questions you have to answer is this. It's a huge decision that's going to affect your architecture, your data, your whole user experience. Are you going to build it, or are you going to buy it? This choice really sets the stage for everything else.
So let's start with the journey of how we got here. The change from Next.js to Auth.js, well, it wasn't just a new logo. It was a really strategic move that took this library from a tool for a specific niche and turned it into a potential universal standard for the entire web.
Yeah, this was a massive, deliberate architectural pivot. The team basically rebuilt the library's core from the ground up on standard web APIs. And they had one super clear goal, to unhitch it from any single framework and make it truly runtime agnostic.
This timeline really tells the whole story, doesn't it? Auth.js started out as the go-to auth solution, but only for Next.js. Now, by rebuilding on web standards, it can run pretty much anywhere. Docker, serverless functions, you name it. And that opened the floodgates for integrations with a whole ecosystem of tools like Svelte Kit and Express, making it a serious contender for any modern web project. To really get what makes Auth.js so different, you gotta look at its DNA. You know, the core principles that guide its design and really set it apart from everything else on the market.
It really all boils down to these three foundational pillars. It's a full-stack solution, it's all about you owning your own data, and it's designed to be secure right out of the box. So let's break down what each of these really means for you as a developer.
Okay, first up, full stack. This means Auth.js isn't just a back-end thing or a front-end helper, it's the whole package, an end-to-end system. It handles all the server-side API routes for Auth while also giving you these super simple client-side tools, like the use session hook, to manage the user's state. That integration makes development so much simpler because it cuts down on boilerplate and keeps all your auth logic in one place.
Next is own your data. And honestly, this is probably the single biggest difference between Auth.js and managed services. It works on a bring-your-own-database model. You just connect it to your own database, Postgres, MongoDB, whatever you want, and that gives you complete, total control over your user data. And what does that mean? No vendor lock-in, no data silos. It's your data, period.
And finally, secure by default. The library is built to kind of nudge you toward building a secure app from the get-go. It automatically handles things like CSRF protection and uses signed, encrypted, server-only cookies. It's also a big fan of passwordless sign-in, which, by the way, drastically shrinks your app's attack surface without you having to become a security expert overnight.
And all that flexibility is backed by a massive ecosystem. We're talking built-in support for over 50 authentication providers. And that's everything from the social logins you'd expect, like Google and GitHub, all the way to enterprise-level stuff like Azure AD and Okta. For you, the developer, this means you can add a new sign-in method in like 5 minutes, not 5 days. It's a game changer.
So, we've covered the philosophy. Now for the fun part. Let's pop the hood and take a look at the key pieces of the architecture that give Auth.js all its power and flexibility.
The whole system really stands on this powerful trio: providers, adapters, and callbacks. Providers handle all the different ways to sign in. Adapters are the bridge to your database. And callbacks? Well, callbacks are the secret sauce. They let you jump into the authentication flow and inject your own custom logic.
Now this part is super clever. It reveals this flexible dual-mode way of handling sessions. By default, if you don't set up a database adapter, Auth.js just uses stateless, encrypted JWTs. This is perfect for serverless setups where you want to avoid hitting a database on every single request. But if you do set up an adapter, then the sessions get stored in your database, which gives you the maximum possible control.
Callbacks are where you get that really fine-grained surgical control. You're hooking right into key moments. For example, you can use the sign-in callback to maybe block users who aren't from a specific email domain. Or you could use the JWT and session callbacks together to securely pull custom data, like a user's role, from your database and make it available in the client-side session. This is where the real power for customization lies.
Okay, so all this power and all this flexibility, it brings us to that classic developer dilemma, right? Choosing your Auth solution is a huge strategic build versus buy decision, and really understanding the trade-offs is absolutely critical.
When it comes right down to it, this is the core trade-off. With Auth.js, the build option, you get maximum control, total flexibility, and zero direct cost. But you're on the hook for setup and maintenance. On the flip side, with a managed service, the buy option, you get convenience and incredible speed to market. But that comes with usage-based costs and, of course, the risk of getting locked into a vendor.
Let's look at this comparison table. You can see Auth.js really stands out with its own your data philosophy and its free, self-hosted model, though the setup is a little more involved. Then you have Auth0, a classic managed service that's all about convenience and simple setup, but you're going to pay for it based on usage. And then there are new players like BetterOff trying to blend that open source model with a simpler, more modern developer experience.
So, with all that on the table, how do you make the final call? Let's cut right to the chase and answer the most important question. When is Auth.js the right choice for your project?
Here's the bottom line. Choose Auth.js when owning your user data is a non-negotiable. Choose it when you need predictable costs that don't shoot up as you get more users. And choose it when you need the flexibility to plug it into any custom architecture you can dream of. It's really the perfect choice for teams who are comfortable managing their own infrastructure.
But on the flip side, a managed service might actually be a better fit if your number one goal is just speed. If you need enterprise features like SSO or MFA like yesterday, and your budget can handle usage-based pricing, then paying to offload all that infrastructure and maintenance work makes a ton of sense.
So at the end of the day, through this whole evolution, Auth.js has become way more than just another library. It's really a powerful statement about data ownership and developer flexibility. It has absolutely solidified its position as a go-to universal authentication core for anyone building for the modern web.
And that kind of leaves us with one final big question to think about. In a world that is just dominated by cloud services and third-party APIs, is having the ability to own and control your own authentication data, is that the ultimate long-term competitive advantage? Something to chew on for your next project. Thanks for tuning in.